Okay, so in this tutorial, I'm just going to quickly cover how to set up a Rhino file with a scaled image, aerial image of your site, so that you can kind of draw on top of it and figure out how you want to site your pavilions. I got Rhino open here. I'm going to first of all make sure I'm in the right units. So remember, you can look down here to see what units your file is in. If I type in units in the command line, press enter. So under my model units, which is like my workspace, I'm going to change to feet. So I'm looking at a large scale object here. Also under layout right now, I'm just going to go ahead and change to inches. That's the paper size I most likely be using. Okay, I'll click OK. Great. So now I'm going to go online, and you can find for basically anywhere really good aerial images from Google Earth. I would recommend you use Google Earth rather than Google Maps, right? Because it'll just give you, you can get like a little bit cleaner images out of it, and we can measure a little bit easier. Okay, oh, looks like it brought me right back there, but basically, you just navigate to wherever you want to go. So I'm going to show you guys El Presidio Park. Make sure you're oriented north, straight up, so click this little arrow to make sure north is straight up on your screen. And then the other thing I would do is over here on the left where it says map style, I would make sure you uncheck the 3D buildings, right? Because that's going to make your map look a little bit like, you see how we're seeing the sides of these buildings. We kind of want to avoid that as much as we can. You see how I see the sides of the buildings when I'm moving around. So I'm kind of like in perspective right now. I don't really want that for an aerial image. I want it to be more like a plan image. I'm going to uncheck that little option. And there we go. So the other thing that I would do here would be to measure out a distance that's easy, so that we can find a dimension to scale to once we get the image into Rhino. So if we click the little ruler icon over here on the left, I'm going to change my units into feet. In fact, I might even change them into inches so I can get a little more precise. And then I would measure something that's pretty big. I'm going to measure this courthouse from one end to the other, corner to corner. So 3,906. And I'll close that out. It's tilted my view, so I'll go back. Okay, and then I'm going to zoom in kind of as close as I can and kind of capture it all in one image here. And then I just like to use it's called the snipping tool still in Google, or whatever you use to create screenshots with. Doesn't matter if you have a bunch of other stuff kind of in your screenshots, just for you to make a scale drawing from. So I'll make the nice thing about the snipping tool is you can kind of crop it at the same time with the image. Okay, and then I'll just save that file somewhere. Let's see. Okay. All right, and then just like we did in the previous tutorial, I'm going to use the command picture. This is also picture frame if you're in an older version of Rhino. Picture frame does the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to double click on my viewport tab up here to maximize this viewport. I'm holding shift. Actually, you don't have to hold shift. Click to kind of place your image, keep it scaled. And then what I want to do, I'm sorry, keep it proportional, not scaled. And then what I want to do is I want to take this image and scale it according to the measurement that I found earlier. I'm just going to type in the command scale. I'm going to click on one corner that I measured earlier, and then I'll go to the other corner. And I'll type in, what was my measurement? 3,906, I think. Oh, it looks like I was also tilted there, so you want to make sure you're not tilted. Another thing to watch out for. I'll quickly redo my screen capture. Let me do that one more time. Picture. Huh. That one more time. I'll save it as something else. Not sure what's going on there. There we go. Okay. So then I'll scale. I'll just type in the word scale. Click on my corner, click on my other corner. And remember, I'm in feet right now. So rather than typing in 3,906 and just pressing enter, I'm also going to type the little quote symbol so that Rhino knows I want it to scale to 3,906 inches. Okay, and so there's my site photo. And if you wanted to, so I would base most of your kind of plan drawing on this. There's a couple ways you can work that. What's nice about this is we know that north, when we go to do our drawings, we'll know which way north is. But of course, it's a little bit harder to draw like parallel lines and right angles when everything is tilted like this. The one thing that you might want to do is just rotate the image. So I'm just trying to line up as best I can to like an edge I see there. And now I'm holding Shift. So I've rotated my image. So remember, north is still that way, right? North is still that way. But because I've like aligned my world to my ortho, or aligned my image to my ortho, oops, polyline is what I'm doing. I can just use my ortho snaps to draw. So I'm just holding Shift to draw right angles and straight lines and so on. So that way it's easier to draw cleaner lines and so on. Of course, the other thing you can do, and then you can either export an image like this and just make sure you indicate that north is slightly tilted, right, when you draw your north arrow. You can also just rotate it back, and you'll know that the north is just straight up. The other thing you can do is you can use what's called a construction plane. And in Rhino, in order to get to a construction plane, what you do is you type C plane. And what this allows me to do is like make a kind of temporary coordinate system. You can see by my cursor, I have like an XY axis. So I can just click somewhere and try and line it up. Oh, actually, I just moved my origin there. That's not what I wanted. So if I type C plane, let's see, what do I do? You can go, 3-point might be the easiest. So I've already drawn these lines. I can just snap to those. But if you haven't done that, then you'll want to just kind of trace out whatever line you think you're trying to orient yourself to. And so now I've kind of changed my orientation. So when I draw a polyline, for example, you can see first of all my my cursor has changed like its orientation. And when I hold Shift now, I'm still drawing along those kind of dimensions, even though my image is tilted. So I could still trace things out. The only trick here is that when you change your, if and when you change your viewport, you may lose some orientation, or you may lose this C-plane orientation. So what you want to do is you want to save it. So there's this panel called the named seaplane. I can type that in. I can open it up. If I don't have it, I can just type in named seaplane. There it is. You can see we have these kind of default ones already set up. And if I click this little Save As button, I can say this is my site aerial. And then it'll show up right there in my named seaplane. So now, for example, if I'm tilting and I'm moving around and I go back to top view, you'll notice that my orientation has changed back to like world orientation, right? So in order to go back to that seaplane that I just had, I just click on Site Aerial. And then you can see my little aerial, my little seaplane direction showed up. Okay, so that's two ways to kind of deal with a tilted image. And then, so if you wanted to figure out like where's my site go, then I could make a rectangle. And I think it was 144 by 96, is that right? And so that's the kind of limits of how large your how large an area your pavilion can occupy, or how large you want to kind of an area you want to kind of modify. And so I can move that around and kind of decide where I might want to place my site within my area, within the area where it's located. Okay, that should be the conclusion to this tutorial.